And I have three great kids. My daughter Shelby just graduated from Geneva College in May, and I have two boys. One will be a junior at Ohio University, and one starts at Duquesne University as a freshman in the fall. When I was pregnant with Tyler, my middle son, I developed pregnancy-related asthma. And I was so sick my whole pregnancy. I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk without a, puffer, and it was just awful. I lived that whole time on prednisone and antibiotics. But I was assured that as soon as I delivered Tyler, my asthma would go away, but it did not. It stayed with me for 7 years after I delivered him, and I found myself in the emergency room constantly and on a constant dose of prednisone and an antibiotic. Now, all those antibiotics and prednisone did was keep me from having a major attack and dying, but it did not cure my asthma. After gaining 90 pounds, I was really frustrated because I was still very sick. So finally I realized I need to find a very natural cure to my asthma. So I found someone who treated me with herbal supplements for 6 months, and I never had an asthma attack after that. To this day, I've not had an asthma attack. And I tell you this because I want you to see why I have a bend toward natural medicine, because medicine failed me and supplements was what got me off of my asthma drugs. So 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes, and I remember being so devastated at that diagnosis because I knew how serious the disease is. I was determined, because of my past experience, to manage it with diet and exercise. And I promised my physician that I would I would just focus the next year on diet and exercise and get my numbers down. A year later, my glucose numbers were no better, and my physician sent me immediately to an endocrinologist. As soon as I saw her, she put me on metformin. I found that I was very allergic to the metformin. I called the endocrinologist to tell her about my reaction, and she told me that a lot of people were allergic, but to just keep taking it, and eventually your body will adapt to the metformin and you'll be fine. Well, for 7 weeks, I did that and had life-altering reaction, and I went back to her. So then she put me on another drug, which she assured me nobody was ever allergic to. Well, I was allergic to that too. So I spent the next 3 to 4 weeks in misery because I could not tolerate that drug either. At that point, she told me that I had no option but to go on insulin because obviously my body would not tolerate any of those drugs. I decided that I would once again try to find a natural solution. For the next 6 years, I tried everything. I was told that if I could lose that 90 pounds, that I'd have a good chance that my glucose numbers would go down. So I tried Weight Watchers. Didn't work. I used 2 different dietitians. Nothing worked. I hired a personal trainer at the gym who also happened to be a dietitian, and I worked with her. I was diligent for about 8 months. And I thought maybe I would lose weight and the dietitian would help me, would help me to get my glucose numbers. Nothing happened. It was really frustrating because I faithfully worked out 6 days a week for 8 months straight. I took a product called Relive, which I was assured would work, and I went to a healing natural path type doctor, and that did not work. I read books about reversing diabetes, and I did every single thing the books told me to do, and still no success. Absolutely nothing worked for me. I would give 100% to whatever I tried, but I always gave up when I didn't see results. It was really difficult to stick with something when you didn't find any results because I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. So even though I was a diabetic, though, I really think I was in denial that there was doing anything to me because I always felt great and I always had a ton of energy. I can run circles around every single member of my family. I have so much energy. And I guess I somehow convinced myself that because I felt so good that nothing bad was happening in my body. Well, I was wrong. As you heard on the tape, last winter my husband and I applied for life insurance, and I was denied because my A1C was 10.5. What? I mean, how could this be? I worked out, I ate a healthy diet, whereas my husband, who was approved, he seems very, very unhealthy to me. He eats junk food, he never exercises, and he has low energy all the time. So what was wrong with that picture? He got his life insurance, but my 10.5 A1C denied me. So this was a wake-up call for me. I realized that they wouldn't insure me because I was too high of a risk, and that it wouldn't be very long until I had a stroke or a heart attack. This was a defining moment for me. And although I might live a little longer, I knew that the quality of my life would not be the same when that happened. So around that time, I saw this real quick 15-second ad on TV giving Dr. Cole's number and saying that if you wanted to reduce reverse your diabetes, to call this number. And I wrote it down and I didn't act on it, and finally I decided to come and make an appointment and have a consultation. A few weeks later, I started on this journey that completely changed my life. At the consultation, I learned what the program would be like, and I started very hopeful that I'd find success, but I was also very doubtful because nothing worked for me in the past. Why was I to believe that this program was going to be any different than any others? Nothing worked. Not was this just another attempt that would end in failure? I just wasn't sure. But my personality is such that I would not lose hope, and I would not stop trying until the day I died to find something that would work. I soon came to realize that this program was my golden ticket that I'd looked for all those years. When I started the program, my fasting glucose numbers were consistently over 200. That was awful. Every morning, over 200. At the end of the day, my numbers were over 250. After a month here, my numbers started to go down ever so gradually. And after 2 months, my fasting glucose was around 100. And my end of the evenings were around 110. This was phenomenal. I was so encouraged. It was the first time in 7 years that I had seen results after just 2 months. I had other elevated numbers like Donna did, and they all started coming down as well, and they were all becoming in the normal range. Now, many people have asked me, why did this program work for you when others had failed? And I describe this program to them as a four-legged chair with 4 very strong and equal legs. I would not think of sitting on a chair that didn't have 4 strong legs and had a weak one. So I want to tell you about what I think these 4 legs are. The first leg of the chair is the diagnostic part of the program. There are 3 non-invasive tests that I took to determine why I was a diabetic. This was unique because all other doctors were interested in treating the diabetes rather than finding out why I had it in the first place. So this program looks for the root cause and then treats that instead of the diabetes. Once we figured out what was causing the diabetes, I was able to rely on the other 3 legs of the chair. The second leg to me represents the supplements that were given to me to target the things that were happening in my body that were out of kilter. Now, if you remember, I had success before with supplements with my asthma. Therefore, I was completely confident that these supplements were going to work for my diabetes just the way they had worked for my asthma. So I happily took the supplements because of my past experience. I didn't trust medication, but I did trust herbal supplements. The third leg of the chair is that dreaded D word, that diet. I always enjoyed a wide range of food, and a lot of them were really healthy. I have to say I was a healthy eater, even though I also had a lot of unhealthy food in my diet as well. But what I found is even some of the really healthy foods were causing my problem. I learned that I was allergic to gluten, egg, and soy. Now, in the past, my dietitians would always tell me to increase the number of fiber, eat whole grain cereal, whole grain bread, whole grain pasta. Well, here I found that that was causing inflammation in my body, as well as the eggs and the soy. Now, I believe there is no point in giving something up unless you get something back very quickly in return. Well, once I eliminated these 3 things from my diet and cleaned up a few other things, I started seeing results for the first time. I definitely got something back for my sacrifice, and that was even better than what I did have to give up. And that was good health and good glucose readings. It was well worth the sacrifice for me. The fourth and final leg of the chair is accountability, which for me was key. In the past, a dietitian would give me a diet program, teach me all the tools of the diet, and then send me off to do it on my own. I made mistakes that I didn't even know I was making. I was bound to fail, but this is not the case with Dr. Cole. I was told to keep a journal of everything that I ate, as well as all my blood readings morning and night. I did this. But did I enjoy coming in every week and having somebody read everything that I read? Well, how would you like to have somebody read everything that you put in your mouth, right? It was like an invasion of my privacy. I didn't think I was going to like having somebody read that and be embarrassed. But I swallowed my pride and I journaled what I ate. And I was always honest about it, recording the good, the bad, and the ugly. I figured it served no purpose to be deceitful or hide something. I very soon came to realize how valuable this was to my success. I made mistakes, and I made many of them, but Dr. Cole would always point them out to me and then give me suggestions on how I could improve my diet. Together we tweaked my diet until I was really, really confident of what I ate. I no longer cared if he read it, because I no longer saw it as an invasion of my privacy, but a privilege to have somebody care enough about me to read something as silly as what I ate every moment of the day. I actually learned to enjoy the weekly appointments because Dr. Cole was always encouraging, always helpful, and he was always there for me. What started out to be the most uncomfortable part of the program for me is what I miss the most now that I'm not part of this program that I finished. Now, what was amazing to me was at first this was a program. I ate foods based on do's and don'ts. No glucose, no soy, you know. Now, I'm a wedding coordinator, and I remember in June when I started the program, I wanted a cupcake at a wedding. And I held that cupcake, I smelled that cupcake, and I really wanted that cupcake. But I didn't eat it, only because I knew that if I ate it, I had to write it down, and if I wrote it down, he was going to read it, and if he read it, I'd be humiliated at my lack of self-control. Suddenly, out of the blue, everything changed. Instead of it being a program, it truly became a lifestyle for me, and at the next wedding in July, that cupcake wasn't even on my radar. No one was more surprised than I was, because it had nothing to do with writing it down or following rules. I was pleasantly surprised that I was no longer in bondage to this program, but I was acting out of something that had become so deep down inside of me that I was committed to a healthier lifestyle. That was very freeing to me, and I know now that I am committed to that lifestyle and I never feel deprived of anything. There are two questions that everybody asks me often. The first is this program hard to follow? For me, it was not. The diet might have been difficult if I was asked to restrict my diet to 500 calories a day or to eat grass or eat the same exact food every day. This diet is nothing like that. I enjoy a wide variety of food, which I can easily find at my local grocery stores. It's very easy to eat out in restaurants, and Dr. Cole gave me all the tools to succeed, including weekly menu suggestions, recipes for the meals, shopping lists, and tips for trying new food. I gave 100% to the program, and the payoff has been well worth the effort. The second question that I get is, how much did this cost, and did my insurance pay for this? Well, because I don't have a wellness care as part of my insurance, most of the cost was out of my pocket, although the insurance did cover some testing. My husband was very reluctant to agree to pay for this program. I'm the free spirit one in our marriage, and he's the one who bears the burden of the finances for the household, and so he wasn't sure that we should spend the money. However, he understood that my health was in serious jeopardy, so he agreed to make the financial investment. After finishing the program last November and my A1C going from 10.5 to 1.6 in 6 months, he admitted to me that it was the best money he ever spent. I'm so sorry, I don't know why I'm so emotional.
It's okay, Karen.
He said he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Coming from him, this was just such a huge endorsement of the program. Therefore, when people ask me about the out-of-pocket expense, I ask them, what is the cost of saving a life? What is the cost? After all, my goal of reversing my diabetes has become a reality, and I have an incredible peace of mind. I'm making you cry too, I'm sorry. I have an incredible peace of mind that I'm going to watch my kids all graduate from college, find the love of their lives, get married, have children. It's such a peace to me. I have learned that I enjoy good health so much more than I enjoyed all that food that I thought was good before. And I can't put a price on that. It is invaluable to me. Now, I know that my journey is not the same as your journey. However, I know that your results can be the same as my results and Donna's results if you put your trust in this four-legged chair and do the program. And I hope that your journey will reverse your diabetes and give you the same peace of mind that we have, Donna and I have. Thank you so much for listening to my journey.